What's up guys, my name is Josh and today we're going to be talking about the Audeze EL-8 Titanium. Now for my returning subscribers, you may know that I have an EL-8 open back review and there is a link to that video in the description down below. Now I won't get into crazy specifics about this, but these are basically supposed to be kind of working hand in hand with going with a mobile phone where they have their own DAC that comes with it, and that kind of is trying to justify the $800 price tag that these are at. So before I get into this, I want to give a disclaimer and a shout out for these. These were actually sent to me by a fellow reviewer you may have heard of, Metal571. There's a link to his channel. It's at the very top. He's one of the top reviewers out there. A lot of people have heard of him. I'm sure he'll be in the comment section down below. What's up, Metal? Now I do have to send these back. I'm not getting free product. Nobody's influencing me to say anything in particular about this. So all thoughts and opinions are my own. The disclaimer is that I have not tried very many closed-back headphones. Really the only expensive closed-back headphone that I have tried that I can remember is going to be the DT1770s. And those I liked a lot, but they had their issues. And these are kind of like that for me. I like them a lot, but they have their issues. So they're not directly comparable, but I'm going to be drawing a few bits of comparisons here and there between those. And I also want to say as an overall statement for this review, take it with a grain of salt, because I don't review a lot of closed-back headphones, so I don't really have a lot of things to draw comparisons from or competition from. All right, let's talk about the build and the power requirements of these. These are a very heavy, but very solidly built pair of headphones. Very, very heavy. Now, a complaint that I have for this particular pair that wasn't an issue on the EL-8 Opens is that I actually have quite a bit of a hot spot right up here, which is very strange because I really don't get hot spots really anywhere. My ears don't ever hurt, my head doesn't really get uncomfortable, my neck doesn't cramp or anything like that. There are only two headphones that have really created a hot spot up here. One was the LCDX with the old school headband, and then this. And it's not that big of a deal, but wearing this for hours on end actually did get a little bit uncomfortable for me. And so because I feel basically nothing up here, this might get really annoying for certain people. Okay, they do use proprietary connectors. I'm not sure what the names of them are, and that's one of the complaints that I'll have on this in a bit, is that they do use proprietary connectors, and I'm not sure why. I don't think they need to. These do have great pads, and when they're on the head, they feel very, very comfortable. It doesn't block out a ton of sound, is something that I noticed. Now the cables for this, you actually get two cables. You get a standard cable that has a 3.5 millimeter, and I think it comes with an adapter, but I don't think I had the stock adapter that was coming on here. And then the interesting part, which kind of makes these titaniums, which is the lightning cable that connects to an iPhone that has a actual DAC in it. Now, there is a problem with this cable for me, and I should get this right out of the way. I can't review that portion of it. The application that they have for it did not work for me. I could not get it to work. I could not get it to sign in with the headphones. There are actually two applications in the App Store for some reason, and I tried both of them and I couldn't get either of them to work. So unfortunately, I can't review that DAC portion of this, even though I did receive it. It just doesn't work with my phone for whatever reason. It's fully updated. I'm not sure what the issue is. Could be my phone, could be the DAC, could be the headphones. I don't know. It is a 24-bit DAC and it does bypass the iPhone DAC, and that's the whole deal. It uses the iPhone amplification, I believe, but it uses the DAC from the inline cable. All right, so that part out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the sound. And my overall impressions of this are that it is fairly neutral, actually. And it has a little bit of sparkle, something that I was not, and I'm gonna bring up that word a little bit here because it was something that I did not get out of the EL-8 Opens. And I want to draw a few comparisons to the EL-8 Opens, even though I didn't run them through the same tests at the same time I was listening to this. I didn't do A/B testing because I had to sell those to help fund an issue with my car. Anyways, but honestly, they kind of have like a sparkly and peppy attitude to them. They seem happy to be producing music. They seem kind of alive. And they don't really have this muddy bass or this flooding bass that kind of interrupts the rest of the frequencies. It's not like that at all. It's really similar to the bass performance that I generally get out of open back headphones, where it's there, but it's there where it's supposed to be and doesn't interrupt the rest of the music. So very well designed bass response for this headphone. Now treble is, again, it's sparkly and it's present and it has a bit of clarity and a decent bit of attitude to it, and I like it. Now at the top end, some songs kind of had a little bit too much. If I was listening to it for a long period of time, it could be a little bit fatiguing. But overall, I'm gonna give this a great recommendation for the treble performance. I found it pleasant, but generally not too much. It was kind of sparkly, it had a bit of character to it without being overemphasized or underemphasized. Now the mid-range is a bit of a mixed bag for me. The mid-range for instruments is very solid. It doesn't really seem to have any major dips that I would consider to be problems or unnatural. Everything felt natural, everything had kind of a good feeling to it. You had a good bit of kick and pretty solid and thicker lower mid-range, and then when you go to the upper mid-range, it continues with that kind of solid performance. And detail for this headphone seemed to be a pretty important aspect to how they designed this headphone, because it's detailed everywhere, all the way from the bass to the top end of the treble. Now I said it was a mixed bag because things actually fall a little bit apart in the vocal area for me. For whatever reason, it could be because they're closed. This is why that disclaimer was so important. But these just do not sound natural for vocals. They sound textured, they sound detailed, they sound somewhat forward, although not super well emphasized in the forwardness of vocals. A tinting of the vocals that just feels a little bit strange and just doesn't quite sit right with me. And it's possible that I've been a little bit spoiled with what natural vocals sound like with all the open back headphones that I've tried. But with this, it just wasn't sitting well with me. And it's one of those things where I've honestly sat and thought about this for a week and a half. It was something that I picked up on immediately, and I cannot tell you exactly what's causing it. I don't know the reason for it. Everything else sounds fine, just vocals just have this factor that I just can't put my finger on, but it just doesn't sound perfect to me. It doesn't sound what I expect it to sound like. And I'm not sure if it's the delivery or the tonality or a combination of, 50% this or 30% that and 70% this. I don't know what it is. So I apologize for my inadequacy in terms of defining a problem. Now, bass response is tight and depthy and kind of has the same quality in terms of delivery that I really liked with the 1770, where although it was emphasized, it didn't flood into the mid-range or anywhere else in the music. And it didn't really seem to darken or cloak the overall impression of the headphone. When a song would hit like the 20 to 70 hertz range, it was just able to play that just how it should be played. It felt very natural, very responsive, large in amount, and made them feel very big in certain tracks. Despite being a closed headphone and despite what I'm about to say about the soundstage in a second. And the bass felt solid and unmovable, but very, very clean and respectful towards all the other ranges and respectful towards the impressions of the headphone itself. Now, imaging and soundstage, and this is where the comparison versus the 1770 comes up. Imaging was better on the 1770, but on this headphone, this has the best representation of soundstage I have heard on a closed back headphone. I would say that good for a closed back, but average for an open back if you were to compare soundstage and how natural and how good it can really sound. It's not stellar overall performance, but it is really, really good performance for a closed back. All right, real quick, I want to talk about the difference between this and the EL-8 Open. If you can find these on the used market, I do recommend getting both of these. I think that they are both good purchases, not only for the incredible build quality, although I did have a slight issue with mine. I'll put up a kind of a picture of like where it cracked on my pair. Not an issue with this pair, but I do know that that does happen with a few pairs of these. With the EL-8 felt warmer and smoother overall, and it felt like it was for relaxing enjoyment purposes. This feels like you could use it for a mixing headphone, although there are a few other recommendations I would have first. But overall, this felt like a little bit more peppy. It kind of felt a little bit more alive, more awake, a little bit more attitude. More rock and roll-y. And I don't know, it just felt like it was a little bit better refined. I do actually prefer this over the open back. If I had to choose one or the other at the same price, I would actually choose this one. But I feel like, after work, you get home, you got a headache, you just want to like chill out, listen to tunes. The EL-8 Open might be a better solution for you. But if you want to be really active and you want to get every little bit of your music, the EL-8 Titanium is going to be a little bit better. Now, unfortunately, because I didn't have these back to back, I don't really want to draw any specific conclusions on like treble, mid-range, which is better like that. But those are the overall impressions of the headphones that I got. If you want to compare my two reviews, like I said, I'll leave a link to that down below. All right, on to the 3 things that I like, 3 things that I dislike, and then the conclusion. The 3 things that I like are the bass response. I really do like it. The second thing I like is the kind of energetic attitude that this headphone has while still having good bass response, and it's not totally towards the warm side, which I do appreciate. And the soundstage, especially for a closed back headphone. I found it very, very enjoyable. It felt relatively natural, and it didn't really make me believe that I was in the room like certain open back headphones can, but for a closed back, it's really good. Three things that I don't like. One is going to be the weight. I understand that it's a well-built device. Maybe not the weight, but like the distribution of the weight. It needs to not be right up here. Second thing is going to be those vocals. They just don't sit right with me. They may work perfectly well for a lot of you. Just something about them to me just doesn't quite sit perfectly. And then the third thing is actually going to be the connectors. Now this wasn't something that I really had an issue with the EL-8, or at least I didn't mention it, but the more I use these, the more annoyed I am with them, because not only are they proprietary towards this specific headphone, but the direction of how they're turned in. There's an inside and there's an outside and a right and the left, and it's too much of a pain in the butt. I don't like this system. I do not see why it was required. My overall conclusion is that these are a great closed back headphone, but they do have their issues, and honestly, I do think that if you were to buy them at the stock price, even though they're not really available anymore, at the $700 area or the $800. Anyway, either one of those, I think they're too expensive. I honestly do. I think that for the price, at that price, it's a 7 out of 10 for the performance. It's good, but it's not stellar. It doesn't blow me away, especially for $700-800. If you can pick these up on the used market anywhere between like $200 to $400, I think that's a great bargain. I would bump this up to like an 8.5 out of 10. I think it has good performance except for the vocals, great build quality, and everything besides the vocals honestly sounded very nice to me. It sounded very pleasant, very enjoyable to listen to, and both the enjoyment side of things and the technical aspect of things were both fulfilled to a meaningful level. All right, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you very much to the nice gentleman who sent this out for review. Check out his channel. He makes really solid reviews, very well thought out, very thorough. And he's been in the community for a lot longer than I have. If you're new to the channel, I do new videos every single day, so hit that subscribe button if that sounds interesting, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.